Warning, this podcast contains explicit sexual language and should only be listened to at work if you're looking for an excuse to connect with your HR representative. Additionally, all mentions of the word women include cis and trans women. For my friends who are genderqueer, gender fluid, figuring it out, anything in between, and feel like this conversation is also important for you, you are welcome here.
Will you open up with me? These pages, they can feed your innermost desires. Do you feel inspired? Are you getting what you need? Are you coming curiously? A secret safe with me. And here you can simply be yourself. Sweet romance. Come on in, come on in, come on.
Hi, y'all. This is Jace, she, they, and you found Jace Reads Romance, a community dedicated to empowering women about sex and sexuality through the reading of romance novels. It is almost August. I should clarify, it's almost August. We are not recording this in August. It is still July. However, I'm going out of town for Steamy LitCon, and I want you to get my wrap up for July as quickly as possible. So I coerced Sephie into recording this early, which is going to come with its own weird quirks, like any episode where I'm talking to you.
My
goal is to break her.
Oh, God. I should also state that I am coming off of my work week. So, I am super duper sleep deprived, y'all. It's going to be real fun.
She works nights,
yes,
overnights.
I work overnights. I work graveyard.
Let's clarify that.
Yes.
Okay. So in the month of July, I finished 21 books. Very proud of that because for most of the month of July, I was out of town. And as much as I thought I would get done, I did not. Do you know when you're visiting friends and family, they do not want you to sit and read as much as you would want. They actually want to spend time with you. It's shocking. Shocking. So here's what we've got. Expect spoilers in these reviews, in these wrap-ups. I will hold nothing back because I'm just not that kind of person, y'all. So if you don't want to know what happens, big picture, just listen to this on 2.5 speed. You won't hear anything. Or go to the show notes so you can see the list of books and then decide what you want to listen to. First book, Better Than Fiction by Alexa Martin. It is girl grumpy, boy sunshine. I'm going to teach you. She owns a bookstore. He's a romance author. And then they fall for each other. Oh, and he falls immediately first.
I like that. I like that it's switched too because it's usually the guy grumpy, girl sunshine.
Yeah. And I very specifically did not say reverse grumpy sunshine because I want to. Why is it always about the dude? But this book, I've read another Alexa Martin, Intercepted, and this is very much in that same vein. It's in Denver. There's one good spice scene, and then spice is just talked about. Part of the reason why the FMC is so grumpy is also she's dealing with the death of her grandmother and kind of this big life quandary. And not oddly enough, my favorite part of that book was the kind of behind the scenes story about the grandma and her will and some sneaky shit she did, because I found the MMC to be fairly boring, fairly generic as a human. He's so sweet and he's so kind, but kind of white bread boring, which is fine. It might be because the whole thing is from the FMC's point of view, but that's what I got. But very a lovely book. Alexa Martin, she writes BWWM, Black Woman, White Man Stories. So if you're looking for that kind of tale, also the FMC Drew is is biracial herself. She has a black mother and a white father, and her father's an asshole, horrible asshole. Like, but he gets his comeuppance, so it's worth it.
That's the best. Yeah. That's the best when assholes get their comeuppance.
Oh my gosh, it's so great. He's and so trash.
My brain just turned into the brain of a 15-year-old teenage boy. With assholes get their comeuppance. I'm like, yeah, okay.
I knew that was exactly what you're going with. That will come later. That will come later in this list. Thank you.
Yes.
Book number 2, Icon and Inferno by Marie Lu. This is the sequel to Stars and Smoke, which I read a few months ago. It is a new adult, technically. And I will say romance. The first Stars and Smoke really did not feel like a romance because they did not end up together. I know. But there's this book. And I think it's going to end at a duology. It felt really finished. You've got Sydney and Winter, pop star, spy, make their second team up for a mission. And this time, everything goes horribly wrong from the beginning.
Oh, no.
It wasn't, it's going right until the end. No, it goes horribly wrong from the beginning. And most of the book is watching them figure out what to do in the chaos of what has happened and how wrong it's gone. There's a failed mission. Their mission fails almost immediately. They're on the run. They're in a foreign country. They're trying to cross the border. There's a turncoat in their midst. It's really fun in that respect. I know, it's a really fun adventure. However, what annoyed me is both of them in the first book talked about how they'd previously dated and that they weren't virgins. Great. It's nice to know that you're not a virgin. Mm-hmm. Both of them in this book talk about their exes because their exes come into play in more detail than we get on their one night together. Like, I don't explicitly know that they had sex in their one night together because they don't say it, because it fades to black and they don't say anything. And I'm like, I don't need to know more details about how your ex used to ride you than your night with Sydney. So that annoyed me. But Marie Lu seems to be an author that sits firmly in the YA new A sphere. So that just might be her jam. And I have to respect that. Yeah. Just because I want it doesn't mean she wants to write it. And that's okay. All right. Book number 3. Before I Let Go. Oh, God. I don't even. Oh, my. How do I speak about this book? Absolutely emotionally devastating and beautiful.
Oh, my God.
Marriage in trouble story.
Oh, man.
And by marriage in trouble, I mean when this story starts in earnest, we're actually 2 years post their divorce.
Oh, wow.
So, look, I think this is one of the best written books that I've read in a while. And the characters and the story and the detail and the spice is so well written. But the heartbreak that this book brings to your life, like, people were concerned for me because I just kept emoting about this book. Like, it's so hard, it's so beautiful, and I'm just like, are they gonna get together? I want it so bad for them. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Was this one of those books that you couldn't like read in public because you'd start crying?
No. I don't think I cried during this book.
Okay.
Partially because I was prepared. Check your trigger warnings. There are some sensitive topics. So basically, there's this marriage. There's Yaz and Sai, Yasmin Josiah, and they have some really big life things to happen. There is the death of a very close loved one and a lost pregnancy in a very traumatic way.
Oh no!
And the way that it basically breaks their marriage.
Yeah.
And we meet them, and what happens is they're finally, it's weird. I don't know a better way to say this, but they're finally past the feels of that tragedy and the divorce that happens. And so we see them in this space of rebuilding, and both of them heal. There's some really good talk about therapy, especially therapy as it affects men, and specifically Black men, and some of the stereotypes and judgments that exist in that culture, and breaking through that. And just watching the two of them, it's so incredible. Something else that I like is as they both go through their emotional healing journeys, the way the story starts is it's all Yaz's fault. She ended the marriage. She was broken. And what they both understand by the end of it is they didn't handle this tragedy as a unit, and they weren't able to communicate what they needed and what they wanted and what was going on. And that is what broke them. It's no one's fault. Their unit wasn't prepared. And also the spice was so good. Like the spice was so good. I don't want to discount that. Because, because like emotionally this book was so but every single time they talked, because they talked about their history, there was spice in the book on the page. Oh my gosh. Kennedy Ryan. I have the sequel to this. And I'm very glad that I waited, because I've had Before I Let Go on my shelf for probably 6 months, because Kennedy Ryan is such a well-known figure in romance, and especially such a well-respected Black author. And I knew that. And this was one of the books that is most talked about. But because I knew it was so sad, I'm like, oh, I need to be in the space. I need to be in the space.
I need to be prepared mentally, physically, emotionally. How much chocolate can be nearby?
Yeah, it was great. So then I read book number 4, The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. And all I know about Abby Jimenez, she just came out with she has a bunch of books. This is the first book of hers. And so I went back to the beginning as opposed to starting with the trilogy that just finished now.
Yeah.
All that I hear about Abby Jimenez is that her banter is great. And so I was really looking forward to a lighter book with lots of banter.
Yeah.
Y'all, what the fuck? What the fuck? This book has great banter. Shit, man. Okay. Friends to lovers with a book-long miscommunication and surprise tragedy at the end of it. That's what but it's just, what the fuck? So you've got... So our main couple, they are the best friends of a different couple, and they meet, and there's so much banter. FMC has a boyfriend, and that's great. But they end up, basically, she hires him to work for her, and their chemistry is so strong. And he's like, I like her, I want her. But all he says is, I come from a big family, I want a big family. And she has uterine fibroids that have caused her so much agony that she has already scheduled a hysterectomy. It's 2 weeks after the wedding they're in. And so she's like, well, I'm obviously not going to be with you because you want a big family and I can't give you that. And so she pushes him away for the whole book and like doesn't tell anyone, doesn't tell him. So it feels like a miscommunication for the whole fucking book. And I'm like, I don't love that. And then there's this horrible tragedy. Tragedy with their best friends. And I did not recover. Honestly, I don't think the tone of the book recovered from it at all. And I don't, that's it. Like, I did not recover from it. And I didn't enjoy the end of this book because of that.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was, oh man, an emotional roller coaster. So the tragedy starts and then it gets worse. And so when the tragedy happened, it was, late at night, I was reading before bed and that tragedy happened and I went, fuck it. I have 100 pages left of this book. I have to stay up and read. Yeah. I don't trust you now. I don't trust you as an author to get me through this.
Right.
And I was right. I was correct. I was correct. So I have heard that the best friend Sloane, she gets redemption, but Jesus fucking Christ, no thank you. And I'm now afraid for the rest of her books because yes, this was great banter, but if every book contains some sort of like some sort of emotional tragedy, I'm not about this. Okay, number 5.
I just have to say, just slightly,
yes,
I follow Abby Jimenez on TikTok, and
she's going through it right now.
I know, but I absolutely love her, and like her. Okay. She shows her books a lot along with her dogs, which is the main reason why I followed her, because her dogs. But her book covers don't look anything like what you just described.
Nope. I was not prepared for it. And it is her first book. So I was told that the first book is some people's least fave and that they definitely get better. But I also was told that some characters from this early series come to play. You know, I just...
Yeah, so you wanted
her back catalog is that long.
Yeah, you wanted to get every part of the world before you got deeper into it. I got you.
It also happens to be the book of hers that I bought, I think, at the book outlet fiction sale, so it was maybe $6. So I have that book. So I had the book, and I'm like, well, this is the one I have, so I should read it.
Yeah.
Okay. Shifting into book number 5, The Fake Dating Game by Timothy Janowski. This is very fun. It is MM romance, fake dating game show. Not dating show, fake dating, and a game show.
Okay.
And light kink.
That was the best.
I'm so nasty, y'all, because like my entire office is an explosion of packing that you will never see this fucking video. Gives me my weird ass self. But okay, so Holden is obsessed with this game show because he and his mom used to watch it, especially while she was dying and passed from cancer. He asks his boyfriend to fly to LA. They're living in Jersey, to audition for the game show. And his boyfriend ends up breaking up with him in the restaurant. Fuck the boyfriend. So he goes by himself, super sad, super mopey, weeping out loud in his hotel room to sad music. And Leo, the guy at the front desk, has to call him and be like, dude, you're being too loud. You're disturbing. You're disturbing other people. But then Leo shows up with pizza and they have this really fun night because Holden is schwasty-faced in the hotel room. And then they end up deciding to fake date to get on the game show. They audition together, and this game show auditions pairs. And they like a cute backstory. So they decide to fake date to be a more attractive couple for this game show. And so we've got days leading up to the audition that they spend together, that they get to know each other, that the tension builds, and which is, of course, my favorite, where they keep getting interrupted before they can have sex. So we have a couple missed things.
Yes.
Missed moments, which means that when they finally do hook up, you're like, yes, you deserve this. I'm so happy for you. Leo is a little bit of a little bit of top in bed. And we have some great dynamics. There is some light bondage, a safe word, a hand signal, it's so well done. There is a third act breakup, and I was annoyed by it, but I also understood it because y'all, you don't live on the same side of the continent.
Right.
How are you figuring this out?
Yeah.
but it was really fun, lighthearted. The game show aspect was great. And I had a blast with that book. I really needed that book.
Especially after
the 1-2 punch
right?
Emotional BS.
You read them back to back.
I read them back to back. I mean, I read physical books and ebooks in tandem, which means that I was reading the fake dating game kind of while the other 2 books were happening. Y'all, it was nuts. It was just insane. Okay. Book number 6, Vanessa Jared's Got a Man by LaQuette. I had no idea what to expect. This was a book that I had put on hold in June because LaQuette's at Steamy Lit, and my original plan was to bring no physical books with me on this trip because I was going to read them all in June, and then I didn't. And so here we go, a mix of physical and ebooks. I loved this. So this is older couple, both in their 40s.
Okay.
Revenge on an ex.
Yes.
Oh no, I'm stranded and have to stay with you.
Yes. Yes. That's so amazing.
Oh,
all of that.
So great. It was so great. So Vanessa has gotten out of a 20-year marriage to her absolute shitstorm of an ex who was emotionally and financially abusive. And then 2 years later, Michael shows up on her doorstep because that ex is engaged to his sister. And he's like, no, he's told my sister he's a widow. I need you to show up and show my sister that he's a liar.
Yes.
That he's a liar and we need more.
Just that is fucking amazing.
It was so great.
I love that so much.
Vanessa is Black. Michael is Korean. They're both in their 40s. So she goes to his teeny tiny town where her 2 best friends actually live. It's very funny. Oh, by the way, when she divorced her husband, she took him to the fucking cleaners. She's loaded. She gets to play the like, I'm loaded and I'm just going to drop a bunch of money, which is amazing to watch. So she goes to the teeny tiny town. There's a rainstorm. Her Jaguar floods because of course it does. Jaguars are the worst cars. If you actually want to get somewhere, don't buy a Jag. So she stays with Michael. And the chemistry is just explosive. Yeah. They are so fun. Also, I love that they're older because both of them are experienced. There's a lot of clit stimulation. There's a lot of good communication. There's one of my favorite moments that I read last month where he is going down on her and he, in his brain, thinks, I would spend my whole night on my knees for her, except my knees don't do that anymore because I'm in my 40s. Yes. And so he moves them like onto the bed.
That's so fucking amazing. That's so great.
I know. It was so wonderful.
Oh my
God. It was so wonderful. This also has a 3rd act breakup that I liked because both of them said and did things that were wrong. And both of them needed to work on themselves. And both of them did. They had this almost, gifts of the Magi moment where they were working on themselves. Like, oh, I fucked up. Even they did something wrong, but I also fucked up. Michael shows up to convince Vanessa to move to the town and be with him while she's packing up her house that she just sold so she can go to the town and be with him.
Aww.
I know. The next book. Oh my God, Sephie. I texted you my emotional agony during this book and I wouldn't tell you about it because I need to tell you about it now. I read The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty by Anne Rice and I read it so you all don't have to do this. Don't read this book. I don't want to give it any more credit than don't read this book.
Y'all, James texted me and was like, oh my God. I was just like, I should add it to my list?
Caps. That was a bad text. That was a bad, oh my God.
That was a bad, oh my God.
Oh, like, it is, Anne Rice in her author's notes describes this as erotica and an exploration of the BDSM fantasy. No, it's not. Don't read this book. Don't read it. Don't read it at all. Here's why. I've read a lot of dark romance and I respect a lot of dubcon, non-con in dark romance, and the world that she creates makes allowances for the dubcon, non-con. Here's what I cannot get over and why I don't want you to read this even as a potential fantasy. Anne Rice left her at 15. You're taking liberties with the story of Sleeping Beauty. Why are you making her underage? Not that suddenly being 18 makes you an actual adult or makes any of the shit that happens in this book okay. But the fact that you as an author are choosing to keep her underage is so icky. Nothing in this book is okay. I don't even think, like, as a fantasy, I can't it's so bad. I don't like so much about this book. If you've read it and you feel like you can have a discussion with me about it, I will not be continuing with this series. But if you read it and what I will say is I think that having an author like Anne Rice publish this, something that is so explicitly kinky and sexual and awful, probably paved the way for a lot of things that have come since. But what I'm saying is, I don't know if that was okay back then, and it certainly isn't okay now. Don't read it.
Yeah. Wait, when did she write that?
84, 89? Let me look. 83.
83.
83.
Wow.
Let's move on to book number 8. I needed something that was going to flush out my brain. And I got that with The Temporary Wife by Katharina Mora. This is the second book in the Windsor series. The Windsor series is not her first series. It definitely feels like it. You meet a lot of side characters that clearly have their own relationships and their own stories. And I felt that with the first book in this series that I did read. My favorite part of this series is that all of these siblings have arranged marriages put together by their grandma. And that has a really interesting dynamic to the whole situation. It makes it very unique because they're not meeting in the same way. They're not connecting in the same way. So this one is basically Luca and but this is a boss employee situation. It's Luca. Luca is the grandson. Valentina is his employee, his executive assistant, secretary, whatever you're going to fucking call it. And I don't love boss employee. I feel like the dynamics are always weird. Also, this is a boss hole situation. They've worked together for 8 years. They're very antagonistic. They fight, they bicker. You don't get over that. I never feel like that transition works for me in a way that is believable. So I didn't love that. By the end of the book, I was rooting for them. I felt like they went through a lot and they came together. But Grandma is my favorite character in this series because she was playing the long game in this book with this. So kudos to her for she really does have her grandchildren's happiness in mind with all of these stories. Part of me wants to go back to an earlier series because of these side characters that keep popping up. I'm like, I never remember who Silas is. But why are you making such a big deal about Silas? But that it's billionaire. The grandma situation is the most unique part of it. I also will say that these are books that once they get spicing, they stay spicing.
Oh,
is it?
Okay.
It's fairly. It's also vanilla. I was looking for vanilla sex. This is vanilla sex, and a lot of it. Good for them. They don't have sex right away. They do a lot of fooling around first. So if you like scenes of foreplay, this is going to be a good one for you.
Okay.
Next was Rebel, book number 10 by Miss Beverly Jenkins. I don't know why I say Miss Bev J. I think I love that. She is another one of the. She is an OG Black romance author, specifically in the historical fiction, which sometimes gets a lot of flack because people are like, Black people didn't deserve love. Then I'm like, fuck you, fuck you, or like. Every story about African American people in America has to be about oppression and sadness. And you know what? Fuck off. Just get the fuck off this page.
Why?
I won't engage with you about this. So
that's
Rebel
not to say,
yeah.
But that's not to say that they didn't experience that. It's just, why does it have to be only focused on that? Like,
thank you.
What's the point?
If you don't understand why I'm expressing this opinion, go read Black Love Matters. There is a great chapter about it. There's a great chapter about historical romance for Black love. This is the first of a trilogy, I believe it's a trilogy, Women Who Dare. And the story is Val is a woman from New York who goes to New Orleans to help post-Civil War. She goes down to be a teacher. Oh, sorry. There's marriage of convenience. There is I save you from people. There's forced proximity. It's so sexy. So Val goes to New Orleans. She is accosted by men with poor intentions and saved by Drake. And because of a lot of bullshit, she ends up staying with Drake's mom in his mom's house. And Drake is currently building his house, so he's also staying at his mom's house. So they're forced together. And there's just immediate chemistry. She is engaged to a childhood friend
back in New York.
And from New York, but he's in Paris looking for funding for his newspaper. It doesn't really matter. So Drake's like, Drake's like, I will not. Drake is so sly. He's like, I would court you if you were available, but you're not. So I won't, or I won't kiss you until you tell me I can. But they're so funny. The whole family comes from pirates. His grandfather or great grandfather was a pirate. And so they make a lot of pirate jokes, but also it's his excuse to behave poorly.
Rakishly.
Rakishly. It's so great. It's so great. So she falls in love with Drake. She falls in love with New Orleans. Her fiance shows up and she basically says, I don't want to leave. Also, we discovered that the fiance is gay and that's why they're engaged, so that he has a beard and so that she can escape a really abusive father, a really controlling, abusive father. And then she and Drake get marriage of convenience so that her father can't marry her off to someone like he did her older sister. It's so great.
Dang, the dad's a dick.
Dad is such a dick. Dad shows up in New Orleans with a dude he wants to marry her to, and she's like, sorry, I'm married. And he's like, annul it.
Holy fuck.
It's bad. But Drake's feelings are hurt because she's like, marriage of convenience. We'll get it. We'll break up afterwards. And he's like, I'm awesome. Why would you break up with me? But they really do. They communicate. They talk. While he is a rake, he respects every boundary she puts up, and is right there when she takes that boundary away. Something that I hate about historical romance in general, it's not Miss Bev J, it is historical romance, is so often the woman is ignorant of her own body. I didn't even know I could feel like that. Yeah. And I hate that. And while she while Val says, oh, I hate that I don't know anything about my body, she still doesn't. It's still, I'm going to educate you on the magic of sensuality. And he does a great job, and he's very kind, and he's very attentive. But that always annoys me. Now, just going back to historical fiction, and especially this situation, something that I really appreciated about this story was, well, the story was about love, and and these are two free people. So Val was free in New York, and Drake is actually Creole and was never enslaved. His family was never enslaved in New Orleans. The circumstances of America and the situation of America and the true history of what was going on at that time is not shied away from. So things that are really shameful in America's history are mentioned. And it made me add another annotation tab to my colors, because there are things that just made me go, I hate so much that this happened and this was real.
Yeah. And
I wanted to acknowledge those feelings, but I didn't want to put it under my I don't like this tab, because it was really, it was great. There's nothing about the author that I didn't like.
Yeah.
So this is my shameful American history tab. I had it. And it's real, and it's awful. And
unfortunately, there's probably a lot that you could put under that tab.
Oh, there's so much that I could put under that tab, but there we go. There we go. It was really well done. There are two others at least that I know of in the Women Who Dare series, and I don't think they're interconnected though, because I found
their own
series
standalone.
From their own standalone, and because if I look up, I actually had picked up the third book. Okay. And went, what's going on? And went back to Rebel because I thought it would clarify things. And after reading Rebel, I went, no, it doesn't. It doesn't clarify anything. They're all standalones. Okay. I just think they're about women who dare. So that's what connects them.
Okay. I kind of like that.
Next book was Lady of Darkness by Amanda Richardson. It's so funny because I read Lords of Darkness in prep for Wild and Windy, and 90% of this book, I went, meh, kind of, I'm going to DNF this series. I'm good. One and done. And then it ended on a cliffhanger. And I went, fuck off. What? I need to know what happens next. There was an emotional revelation, and the way that cliffhanger went, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I finally went, all right, I need... fuck it. I'm going to read this. And it's so funny to me because I will say I would also, like with so many dark romance like series, I think if you treated Lords and Lady as one book, you might be happier, because I was. Also, in Lords of Darkness, it felt like spice was promised and not delivered upon. It is delivered upon in this book.
Oh, okay.
It is delivered.
Yeah.
She is redeemed. So it's Lady of Darkness. It's still dark romance, secret society, mafia. And why
that
choose?
Pause was telling.
And why choose? Yeah, I in the first book, this is also very violent. This book is very violent. Like, they murder like 200 and something people.
Holy shit.
I know, it's kind of badass. It was really kind of sexy. So it starts right where the other one left off, and they're not really working through the drama of that cliffhanger. And then Harlow, who is the FMC, gets kidnapped, and the boys basically are like, you know what? I know we were kind of icing her out, but we're going to go after our girl and murder 230 people to get her back.
Oh, like you do.
And then like you do when you're in the mafia, essentially. It's the mafia, but not the mafia.
But not
it's British people pretending they have a mafia. And then the group scenes start.
Oh,
yeah. It's so great. Also, in the first book, one of the men expresses his history of kink. One of the other men says that he's queer, but there's no group promise in the first book. It feels like it's going to be more, all right, she gets a turn with all of them. In this
one-on-one, yeah.
It's just it's a motherfucking fuck fest. It's a motherfucking fuck fest. Everybody fucks each other. Boys fuck each other. Boys fuck. It's so good. If you have a breeding kink, congratulations. There's a great scene at the end of this book. If you are not into dark romance, don't worry. This is not for you. You can skip on. You can skip on by. Mm-hmm. But in terms of dark romance, having read the conclusion, Lady of Darkness, I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy myself. There is a third, and what I think my favorite part in terms of in my enjoyment, besides the group scenes, except they never use lube. One of my notes was spit does not replace lube.
No,
it doesn't.
And nothing else in your house replaces lube either. You actually have to use lube.
Yeah. Y'all are billionaires. Can't you just like run to the shop and have some on hand?
Just jump down to Tesco and grab yourself a bottle of lube.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some at M&S, don't worry about it. But so many of these dark romance books just live in the darkness. And I actually feel like they all got a happily ever after. And I was very happy with the conclusion of this book and where their story ended up in a way that I don't feel with most dark romances. So
yeah. Okay.
There's a third book in the series, but it's about a new cast of characters. Quite honestly, I don't care. I don't care about them. I'm good.
You got your happily ever after.
I got mine and Harlow got hers.
There you go.
Moving from so much spice and kink and bodily fluids to no spice. There are 2 no spice books in a row. First one was Kiss the Girl by Zoraida Cordova, and this is another one of the Meant to Be books, the Disney series. So Fade to Black. Fine, whatever. It's fine. I accept it now. I know going into it. But this is Ariel's story. It's the Ariel Meant to Be book. And like with the shoe, if the shoe fits, these are more inspired by than actual following of the plot. And something that I'm really enjoying is how these, and if I think back to Buy the Book, which I read so long ago, I'm so sorry, y'all. I read so long ago. I don't even think I read for context. I was just like, this looks cool. I like books about book people. But they're taking these stories that have traditionally been women being saved by men and making them about women saving themselves. So there's a lot more power in these stories than there are in the Disney version or in the actual original story of The Little Mermaid, which is horrific. Though I do like the homage to her comparing walking in her heels. She's like, it felt like 1,000 pieces of glass every time I took a step. And I'm like, oh, that's the story. That's the story. Great, good. I like that we've done our research.
Yes.
But instead of running away for a guy, well, she does run away with Eric. Mm-hmm. She runs away to escape her dad, who's doing shady shit. Like in the Disney movie, he's like, you're 16.
Yeah.
Don't be crazy. She's older. She's 25. She's part of a pop group with her sisters. They've completed their international tour. The group is disbanding. And she was expecting to have a break. And her dad was like, by the way, we're going to start recording your solo album right now. And she's like, what the fuck? So she meets Eric. He doesn't know who she is because she doesn't look like her character in the band. And ends up going on tour with his band. Not as a singer, just as she sells like their merch. Okay. And it's fun. She's running away. She gets to be separate. She's figuring out what she wants to do with her life. she promises his tour manager she won't hook up with him because tour manager knows who she is. And he is apparently a bit of a playboy, and so makes a bet with the rest of his group that he won't hook up with her or he has to shave his head. They make a lot of jokes about his hair, which I love. There's a man underneath that leave-in conditioner is a line from the book, which is hysterical.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love it.
So it's a lot of fun in that respect. It's very lighthearted. It's a very easy read. These books are very quick. I enjoyed it. I'm enjoying these books because it's they're just fun. They're just fucking fun. It's not life-changing. They're not life-changing books. My only complaint about these books is that the physical books themselves are a weird size. So they don't match up with anything else that I have.
That's so frustrating. Because then you're like,
so annoying.
Your bookshelf is weird.
It's both taller and wider. It doesn't fit anyway. That's my main complaint. But following that, I read Reckless by Lauren Roberts, which is technically book 2 in her series. Good job to my library. Got it to me really fast, and then I put it aside so I could finish up some other books first. I don't fucking know what this author has on me that she writes books where I can just dive face first into them and get lost. I love it.
That's awesome. That's a good book. You
Look,
found a good book written just for you. That's what that is.
And I think a lot of people feel like this. Here's what I'll say. Is it the most complex fantasy book I've ever read? No. Is the magic system elaborate? No. It's pretty basic in the world, in the circumstances, but I find myself feeling with these characters, and I watch this journey and I feel for them, and I pine when they pine, and I'm sad when they're sad, and I'm rooting for them. And I can't call a twist for shit. So when I was in public finishing this book, and when I audibly gasped in that last moment, which I won't ruin for you. Actually, I won't ruin this for you because I was so shocked. I literally was like, oh! I am mad that I have to wait until next spring for the final book. There's kissing in this book. One of the things, oh gosh, so it's Pei and Kai. Pei is now on the run after having, big spoiler to Powerless, so plug your ears, plug your ears, plug your ears, after murdering the king, and Kai is sent, the prince is sent to then capture her and bring her home. And it doesn't go smoothly for either of them. So, they end up he does catch up with her, and then they fight, and then they get captured by someone else to get a reward, and they're escaping, and then all of his men get murdered, and it's really just insanity. But they have this thing where both of them know how much they love the other person. Aww. And so they have this thing when they're having a moment, and they'll go, just pretend. And it allows them to, not be in love, but it's always when they have a moment when they make out, when there's a sharing of deep feelings. And it hit me. I don't know why it hit me so hard watching them fight between for Pei, her life. Literally, she's running for her life, for Kai, for his duty, and the thing that he's been trained for and raised to do, for his love for his brother, and their love for each other, this big, epic, beautiful love for each other. Y'all, it hooks me.
Aw.
And the only thing that I was waiting for that didn't happen was if you read Powerful, that novella, Mick. I was waiting for Mick to show up. And
Okay.
I'm confused about why he didn't. Maybe he comes in with Fearless, but I'll be really sad if we got a whole book about him and he's gone. So the only reason those books are not on my shelf right now is because they've been printed in hardcover and I will not buy them in hardcover.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. But I will buy them. I will buy them when they come out in paperback because I think they're worth it. And they are books that I will enjoy. They are things that we've seen, but I think in a comfort way, I see them, you know? Okay. Moving on to a very steamy book. This is Bag in the Blue Liner by Sienna Trapp. This is a book that is whose advertisements there was one Facebook group that I was part of, and I swear to God, some bot for Sienna Trapp or their PR person was there because every other recommendation was Sienna Trapp. I'm like, what's going on? And they would also post pictures of some of the spicy scenes. And I'm like, ooh, that sounds fun. And finally I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to read this book. Because it's a hockey romance. And the first of a series, but it's not her first series. This was a book where, even though it's the first of this series, I would recommend you go back to the previous series because the previous series is 3 books, and this is the 4th friend in the group. So the first 3 books, the first series is about 3 out of 4 girls in this friend group, and this first book of the second series is about the 4th girl. So all of her friends, all of their stories, all of their relationships have already happened, and there are books about them, but it kind of feels like we're being left out. This is kind of enemies to lovers-ish. You've got Hannah, who is the daughter of a hockey coach, and Cal, who's on the hockey team. Coach has made it very clear, you cannot date my daughter. Hannah and Cal have kind of been at each other's throats, but Cal's been pining for 10 years. Hannah hasn't been pining. Here's what gave me the major ick factor. Hannah has this goal to date a hockey player and hook up with a hockey player. And so it gives major Puck Bunny energy.
Yeah.
Which I think is gross. And I don't know why it has to, number one, I don't know why it has to be a hockey player. I know she's a hockey person. Her dad's in hockey. She was raised in hockey. She loves hockey. But why couldn't it be someone else who works in the hockey sphere? Why does it have to be a player? It just gave major ick. And she ends up basically showing up at Cal's front door. They also end up living in the same building, wearing his jersey, which apparently is catnip to an athlete. Sorry, if you're wearing my jersey, I cannot resist you. He has a Jacob's ladder, which is maybe my favorite. He has a Jacob's ladder, which is my favorite thing.
I feel like you buried the fucking lead.
Sorry, that was the tidbit in the Facebook group that made me go, I think I got to read this book. If you don't know what a Jacob's ladder is, it's a type of piercing. Go ruin your search history with it.
Yeah. Go make your FBI agent blush.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I have never experienced one in person, but they are always fun to read about.
Yes, I agree with that statement wholeheartedly.
The spice was good. Their relationship was interesting. I feel like at the end they earned their, I believed them. Cal is my favorite part. Hannah I could live without, but I really liked Cal. Hannah was having a really bad day. And he's like, do you want to sit on my face and talk about it? One of my favorite lines in the book. One of my favorite lines in the book.
That is the best. Oh my God.
At And part of it was he knew that it was still in the early parts of them hooking up. Like she wasn't going to open up to him unless they were fooling around too, but he genuinely wanted her to feel better. And so I like that. I think he was a great partner. And he has a moment where he doesn't communicate well and he's like, man, I've learned my lesson. I will absolutely be better at this. And I like that. I like growth. So I would go back, like I said, I would go back to the first series of hers because I definitely felt left out. These are all of Hannah's best friends, and all of them have relationships and stories and histories. And while you get the Cliff's Notes version, it still felt like this wasn't the first book of the new series. Yeah. Mafia Devil was my 15th book by Mila Finelli. This is a novella in the middle of her Mafia series. And even though it overlaps with some characters from book 4, this is 4.5, I didn't feel like I was missing out. It is a novella. Okay. It's very short, which means there isn't a ton of plot. There isn't a ton of character development. I gave it a pretty high spice rating because for the percentage of the book that was spice, it is higher simply because it's a novella. You know, you got a novella, one scene, 2 scenes make up a much bigger percentage of the book. Right. It's an I should have led with this. It's an Mafia novella.
Oh, wait, what? Yeah. Now really talk about bearing the lead. The hell?
Sorry. And because it's a novella, it doesn't really deal with a lot of mafia stuff. Most of this book takes place on Nick and Theo, Nick's yacht in the Mediterranean, which, you know, not a bad place to be for a book.
No, not at all. And I jump into the book and end up there? Like I would be.
You want to be I mean, they're definitely gay. They're not queer. They're gay.
I don't care. I just want to be on the boat. I just want to. Yeah, that's fine. I would love to be on the boat. The boat is the main thing.
So Nick is in the mafia. Nick is Russian mob, and Theo is a clothing designer, and they have instant chemistry at this party. And then basically Nick he invites him to his boat, and they are on vacation together. But and so there's miscommunication, of course, because Nick is hiding his identity from Theo, but and I don't believe at the end of the book that they get their happily ever after. Nick's best friend basically is like, we're going to murder you in theory so that you can go live your life as his boyfriend. And I'm like, I'm 1000% sure that someone would know who you are and you would get murdered. But you know what? I'm going to suspend my disbelief. But it was very sweet. It was a lot of fun. I love the flirting between the two of them. There is great banter. Theo's a clothing designer and also wears a lot of little Speedos around, wears a kilt at some point or a skirt, and sits on Nick's lap. And Nick pushes, is putting his hand on his thigh and goes, "Oh my gosh, are you bare down there?" Which I feel like is something that happens a lot with women, but it was nice to see with a man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I've been naked under this skirt the whole time just for you. Oh, it was delicious.
I love that.
It was really delicious. So very quick, very easy. Followed up with The Awakening by L.V. Lane, which is a recommendation from Nat from Trigger Warning. This was fun. The Awakening is solidly in Omegaverse, but it's sci-fi Omegaverse, not paranormal Omegaverse. So there are planets and war and technology and viruses, as opposed to paranormal where it's magic and things.
Yeah.
But it is solidly Omegaverse.
Okay.
Everything you want in Omegaverse, there's hormones. There's hierarchy. There's, the physical size difference.
Yeah.
There's nodding. There's nesting.
Ooh.
There's heat. All of that. The difference is Omegas also kind of develop powers with the virus situation. And it's really interesting. She is an empath, which means she doesn't go to war, but It's a Verity and Woodrow. Woodrow is a little bit of a sneaky fucker. He finds when you're an Omega, you go to live in the Omega compound to kind of work on your powers and figure out your situation. Right. And he finds out about Verity and blackmails the head of the house to basically condition her to want him so that he can get her. So the way that it works with Omegas is you can be presented to alphas and you get to choose, yes, I want you, no, I don't. And you can have multiple presentations and you can get presented and then think about it and then go back to it. But what he does is he gives her a pillow. He gets a pillow put in her room and every day switches out a handkerchief full of his jizz so that she smells him and like gets conditioned to his smell. So in the presentation, she is immediately drawn to him and chooses him.
Right. Like
the way that you choose is you touch them and she immediately smells him and just walks up and is like, what? And when she touches him, he's hers. So there ends up being some very hurt feelings with all of that. This is also a Cinderella inspired tale. In the larger story, she has her dad's alive, but she's a terrible stepmom and stepsister. There is a ball. I wouldn't really call this a Cinderella retelling, though. Fine. There is an older woman who makes her an Omega and is her mentor through all of that. So you could say it's bibbidi bobbidi boo. But this is the first in a 10-book series. So if you like Omega, you're interested in the sci-fi and you want something that's going to sustain you for a bit, this is the first book in a 10-book series that's going to do it for you. I enjoyed myself thoroughly. Because I can suspend all the creepy, weird power dynamics when it's Omega because that's just what you get. Yeah. Oh. Okay. I didn't even tell you this. I was texting Courtney. I read Sex Criminals Volume 1 by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. I did. Oh my God. Okay. It was as these two ding-dongs were so much fun to read about. This is a graphic novel. It is Susie and John. We start with Susie's perspective. When Susie orgasms, she stops time.
Yes.
And then she meets John at a party and they bone and she calls it The Quiet. And it's really well drawn with like lots of fun lights and like swirls. It's really cool. She stops time and she can do whatever. It's totally fascinating. And then she and John bone and she's like, I enter the quiet. Oh my God, you're here with me. And John has the same power. When he comes, he also stops time, except he calls his cum world because as a 15, like a young, because as a kid. No, it's even better than that. Because they discovered this when he was a kid and there was a porn store called Cum World that he would sneak into and fuck around with. Because that's what you do with a 15-year-old boy. It's so funny.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And then it's discovered that there are other people who also have this power. And oh my God, but so they're both kind of in hard times. And so they decide to use the quiet to rob banks.
Because why not?
Because why not? And then the other people who also have this power try and stop them. But most of this book is about them talking about their sexual awakening. And also, I thought it was really lovely. The stopping of time are things that they only experience by themselves. So even when they're intimate with someone, if they get off, they're then suddenly alone. And that's got to be isolating as a sexual partner to be like, great, I just had this wonderful moment. And now you're frozen. I'm not.
Right.
Bye, boo. And they share it with each other and they share this vulnerability with each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really silly. They break into things. They break into the porn store again. They like do ridiculous stuff. They bowen in lots of weird places. But ultimately, it's about two people who thought they were alone in this world who find each other. And I loved that. I loved it. It was a fairly, for me, it's a quick read because, I blast through these things very fast, but it was really adorable. If you're looking for a sexy graphic novel that doesn't contain kink, this one's it. There's a really funny moment when they both realize that they're in the quiet and she goes, "Is your dick glowing?" Oh my gosh. So funny.
What?
So funny. I laughed out loud. Oh my gosh. I was dying. Also, shout out Chicago Public Library for also having this book in your arsenal. So
Sure.
They had it digitally. I downloaded it and was reading it on the tablet. It was amazing.
That is awesome.
So great. Okay. Moving on, 18, Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue. This is a book that I have heard on a lot of dark romance lists as a really good introduction to dark romance. I'm going to fucking agree, because this doesn't actually cross my dark romance line of kidnapping. The FM, no one gets kidnapped in this book. It is dark and violent, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well written and I loved the story. So you've got Ray, who returns to her home. Oh, it's demons. Morally gray, dark / dark romance. There are demons, so like demon monster, and kink.
Okay. And kink.
Kink. So Ray comes back to her hometown and ends up meeting Leon, who is an actual demon being controlled by this family of cultists who want to sacrifice Ray to their god. Leon falls head fucking first for this girl. She falls too. She has CNC, or for sex fantasies, and loves kink. He is also kinky, but very much states explicitly that he only kinks or fucks people who want to, because what's the fun in force? So they have a lot of fun kink. And they're both queer. When we meet Ray, she's just been broken up with by a girlfriend. We also meet an ex-lover of Leon's, but he's like, we don't really ascribe to the binary system like you do. We just fuck whoever we want. Right. Weirdo humans. Which is not surprising, knowing what I know about Harley LaRue, who's a queer author. Mm-hmm. So the story around them is dark. She's being hunted. There are monsters. There's murder. There's, potential human sacrifice. But the demon part is actually pretty chill. It's called Her Soul to Take because Leon decides he wants her soul, not for any nefarious reason, but because if he has her soul, they can't be parted. Like, he wants her. He's drawn to her. I know. It's like, oh my God, it's so adorable, the demon. But he doesn't want to be separated from her. He wants to keep her. And that's why he wants her to take the bargain for her soul, because then they're together and they can't be. Oh my gosh, it's so adorable and spicy. There's some really good like CNC play. There's some really good DS dynamics, top bottom. They talk about it. Ray has some good moments where she talks about how these things really appeal to her. CNC for sex fantasies, but fantasy, that's not what she wants. And she's done a lot of work about that. And so if you're listening and you've ever had a forced sex fantasy, you're not weird. You're not alone. Nope. Does not mean you want to have that happen to you in real life. That is play. Go find a play partner.
Exactly.
There are 3 standalone books in this trilogy about 3 women and the demons that they end up connected to. I think I want to finish this.
Really?
I loved it. I had such a fun time with this book because their relationship wasn't dark. The world was dark.
Right.
They were great. They were great. It was so my jam.
What have you done with Jace?
Honestly, it's funny. I don't know who I was talking to at what point I realized this, but given my original reading history of, Laurel K. Hamilton and J.R. Ward and Patricia Briggs and kind of those books, is it really that surprising?
No.
In a happy relationship, I don't mind if there's violence and death and whatever in the story. I want a happy relationship. Right. And we're not going to talk about Laura K. Hamilton. We're not going to talk about Richard. We're not going to talk about some of that bullshit. But breaks my heart. That's my abusive relationship. But yeah, this was great. Okay. If you're someone who really wants to delve into demons, monster, or morally gray dark romance with some kink, this checks all the boxes.
Okay. For you.
For me, it checks all the boxes. It checks all the boxes for me. Except there's only a couple. It's not a why choose. It's not a polyamory situation. I'm sad about that. I know. Then this is literally the title, book number 19, The Cock Down the Block by Amy Award. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's plus-sized FMC, friends to lovers, sports romance, fake dating.
Yeah. I've heard about this one.
You've heard of this book?
I have heard of this book.
Oh, tell me what you have heard about this book.
Very little.
If you liked Blindsided but wanted less drama, this will be a good one. Also, in Blindsided, they've only been friends for a year. In Cock Down the Block, they've been friends for 10 years. And there's actual pining going on.
Oh, okay.
Unlike in Blindsided, where they are friends and then they're like, I guess we're kind of sexually attracted to each other. I guess I find you attractive. I don't know. My only thing is with these friends to lovers, you've got someone pining, but the other person isn't. And so I'm like, wait, you really never thought about it? Or you just you basically felt like you just put him so hard in the friend zone because you never believed it. Trixie and Chris. Trixie is our FMC. Chris is the MMC. And they live next door to each other. Trixie, there's a lot of plus-sized empowerment in this book. And this is not about her being plus-sized necessarily. This is not a plus-sized character who needs to love herself. She loves herself. She has no fucking problem with herself. She's hot. She knows it. But there is the bullshit that goes from the world here. So that can be really hard. Her mom, Trixie's mom, was also in sex work before. So there's this history of her mom being a porn star, and that kind of follows her along and is brought up. But her mom is actually a sex educator. So one of my favorite things is that her mom sends her packages of sex toys that she finds on her world travels. And she has an entire laundry basket of sex toys, which is hysterical.
That's amazing.
So there's also a lot of just sexual empowerment in this, which is weird because she's actually a virgin. And and I'm not saying you have to lose your virginity. She didn't find someone that she wanted to, and that is totally fine.
Right.
So if you're someone who doesn't subscribe, you don't worship at the altar of the hymen, this is probably a good book for that because it's not. Also, she uses toys. Her hymen's probably gone. The tentacle dildo alone.
The tentacle dildo.
Oh my God, it's so funny. Also, when Chris accidentally knocks over the laundry basket and is like, "We're about to play." We're about to play.
Oh, that's funny.
So it's good. There's a lot of good sex. There's a lot of good clit stimulation. There's foreplay. There's fun.
Yes.
I enjoyed the book. I enjoyed it. Was it eye-opening in any way, shape, or form? No, but I think it's a good example of also Amy Ward's style. And if you're looking for plus-sized characters that they're just plus size, y'all. Like there's nothing. No one's trying to shrink them. They're not fetishized. They're comfortable in their own skin. They're comfortable in their own sexuality. Like, read this book. Yeah, I enjoyed it. And I think part of the reason why it's the cock down the block is she has a rooster. Like, she has a rooster.
Well, and it's a play on words. So.
The play on words, but also she has a rooster. That's funny.
She's a pet rooster.
She's a pet rooster. This is the start of, I think, a series because Chris is part of a football family. There are 6 brothers and 1 sister, and you meet them all. So that was fun.
Yeah, I think doesn't she write? She writes another one. It's like has wiener in the title. I can't think of it right now.
Let me look. Oh, The Cocky Kingsman is the name of the series. Oh, there are already 3 books. And so The Cock Down the Block, there's a novella, I think, in the middle, Ants in Santa's Pants, The Wiener Across the Way, and The Pussy Next Door. Way.
Yes. Yes.
So this is a good series to start with. Next up, The Unlikely Heir by Jax Calder. If you want more things like Red, White, and Royal Blue, but I think like slightly less steamy. This was fun. So this was a really adorable romance, and we had some of the things that I like about romance or sapphic romance is that we get some of those gender norms kind of thrown away, in a way that's really fun to see. So Callum is 11th in line to the throne. He is the first son of the fourth son of the Queen of England. His parents divorced when he was 1, and he was raised in California away from all this bullshit. Like, he's 11th in line. Nobody cares except his dad is dead, and his 3 uncles and all of their children are exposed in this bribery, extortion shenanigans. So they are removed from line of succession, and he is now heir to the British throne.
Holy fuck. Oh my God.
Oliver is the prime minister. He is out. It's known. He was married. He is divorced. And Oliver, they meet at an event, and Oliver's like, wow, I completely remember, because he was working class kid, and he remembers being thrust into the limelight and how hard that is, and he was choosing to do that. Callum isn't. And so Oliver gives him his number, and they start this really sweet text. They start texting, and they call, and then they chemistry. The one thing that I was surprised at, but not every story has to be about that, is Callum assumed he was straight, and then after meeting Oliver and being so drawn to him, goes, oh, I guess that's what those feelings from my guy friends that I was really awkward around were. I don't really care if I'm bi or pansexual. I just like Oliver. So there wasn't really a reckoning of my sexuality. And you know what? Maybe for some people there isn't that. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be the big drama. But in the British monarchy, the royal family is very politically neutral. And so having the heir to the throne and the prime minister engaged in a relationship is dramas.
Yeah.
And it's this very much like forbidden romance. I'm not supposed to. Oliver gets very possessive, like, who's gonna hurt my man? I love it. I loved it. And at the end of it, it's, well, with both of their roles, who's going to sacrifice what they've worked for the relationship. Is Callum going to abdicate so he can be with Oliver? Is Oliver going to step down as prime fucking minister to be with Callum? What happens? It was really interesting.
That is interesting. So I guess I do have a question.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I'm really thirsty.
How dare you? No, because I know that in Red, White, and Royal Blue, they have an issue with the prince being gay. Mm-hmm. Is that a similar issue here, or is it just the politically neutral issue?
The politically neutral part is the one that's really the biggest issue, because the royal family is so embroiled in this scandal.
Right.
And they're having problems with an American heir. Who is this guy? Is he British? Is he worthy? And then, oh my gosh, he's fucking the prime minister. What?
Right. Okay.
But they do acknowledge that the Commonwealth at large, almost half of the countries still in the Commonwealth have anti-gay laws on them. Not just like they can't get married. There are active laws against active laws. And Oliver mentions that in the political shit that he has to deal with. But it was, oh my gosh, it was so cute. They're so cute. They're so cute. Watching Oliver, who's so serious and so grumpy, just knocked about the head with his attraction and connection to Callum was so fun. So fun.
Aw, I love that.
I know. It was really sweet. Last book.
Oh no. That's never a good laugh, y'all. God, I'm scared.
I read Trick Shot by Kayla Gross. which is an MMF romance. Holiday novella-ish romance.
Oh my God.
It was so good. MMF holiday plus-sized quink kinky. It is there's kink. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Oh, it was exactly what the doctor ordered. So the story is Riley is at the airport trying to get to Seattle. Flight's canceled. Meets who she believes is Lucas, the hockey player, at a bar, but it's actually his twin brother, Leo. Leo's like, I don't have the mental energy to tell you that I'm not Lucas, so I'm just going to roll with it. Except then they start to banter. He and Leo also has a best friend, Jace. Not me, Jace. Different spelling, but male Jace. I know, that's the best part. That's the best part of this book.
I was going to say that's the best part.
It's the best part is Jace. Best friend Jace. They've been boning as non-commitment, like the Barbie. What is it? Non-committal, long-termish girlfriend. Whatever it is. Basically that, but boyfriends.
Okay.
And Jace picks them up from the airport. They all go back to Leo's apartment, where they bone the fuck out of each other.
Nice.
Oh my God. So much play. Daddy Jace. There's Daddy Jace.
Damn.
Yes, sir. There's a lot of yes, sir. No, sir. There are a lot of toys. There's a lot of lube.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so great. Except then Riley discovers that Leo is not Lucas the next morning.
Yeah.
Not Lucas. It is a novella. It rectifies itself very quickly.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
I'm not gonna lie. I got kind of excited when I thought that Riley was gonna sleep with twin brothers.
No, No. It is. It's part of, what's this series called? Like it is called something. Which Brother Puckers is the name of this, which I was a little nervous about, but it isn't. They're not twin brothers. They're just best friends. And the second book is about Lucas.
Okay.
Lucas, the actual twin.
Right.
I loved it. I was so spicy. It was so great. And it was quick. It was a really quick read. So those are the books that I actually finished so far in July. I just to keep myself honest, here are the 3 books that I'm currently reading. Yes, 3. So my physical book is On Rotation by Shirlene. Hold on. Let me look at the actual spelling of her name before I say it. So the physical book that I'm reading is On Rotation by Shirlene Obwobi. I think I'm pronouncing her name right. I just hit an awkward part and I had to put it down. But on my Kindle, I was reading Plié by A.H. Cunningham, which is a Black Love Quink super kinky book. Ooh. And oh my gosh, it's so good. Oh, the scene where he makes her plie is so good.
Shit.
he makes her plie down onto his face. It's so
good. I was like, that's where I was going. So I figured.
Good. And but it also got to a really awkward part, and so I had to put it down. You know what? Just let me be myself. Let me be myself in my weird thing. And so I started, where is it? I started The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport, which is a sci-fi story, which also, I literally just started it this morning because I got, oh my gosh, I was so mad in Plié. Knox, Aisha overhears Knox be like, no, we're not serious. Bullshit, you're not serious. Don't play my girl like that. I'm like, I can't deal with that bullshit. So I started The Blood Trials, which seems to be kind of more sci-fi warriors with superpowers. I'm very excited about that.
That sounds fun.
And I don't know, maybe I'll finish one of those before the end of the month. So if you see a wrap up on social media and you're like, that's not true. I know it wasn't true. I know. I'm doing my best, y'all. I feel like in July, there was really only one no.
Yeah.
There were some 3s. Like, Mafia Devil was my only like 3, and that's just because there was very little to it.
Right.
I might want to read her full length Mafia romance. She has a full length.
Ooh.
But I know, I'm excited about that. But yeah, there was only one real bad one, and then a bunch of good books.
Yeah.
A bunch of good books.
Yeah.
I'm excited for August. All right.
Yeah, because August is steamy lit, isn't it?
Steamy. That's where I'm going right now.
Yes.
That's why my office is in shambles. And I have, maybe y'all, like, I might just do a whole podcast episode on book conferences. Maybe steamy, that we'll see. I get to see some friends and stuff. Thanks, y'all. I hope that you are enjoying yourselves, and bye.
Bye.
That's it for today, y'all. This has been a 3 Paws Productions podcast. Our producer is Sephie. Michael Achenbach is our patient editor. Our theme song is written and performed by Diana Weishauer. You can find show notes and so much more at jacereadsromance.com. That's JAYCE Reads Romance. Follow along on TikTok and Instagram at Jace Reads Romance. If you'd like to ask a question or share a story for the podcast, call and leave a message at 661-JACE-RR.
That's 661-529-2377. Or send an email to jace@jacereadsromance.com. Finally, like and subscribe so you can get every episode when they drop. You can also leave us a review to help others find us. And remember, this is Jace holding space for you.